Hi Yona, and welcome everyone back to Let's Play Nier, Episode 61. So, it's a bit unexpected considering...
Bryce, you dumbass!
Will you stop with that, please? Considering the fact that normally this would get thrown in DLC and such, and it was supposed to, but then... So with the way that I do stuff now, and just all do it at once, I don't really see a reason to not do this. And just continue. Jesus, that Xbox 360 is loud. I see no reason to not to continue. And the same thing, I'm dragged back Dark Souls. I mean, it should have damn well been recorded and you should see it. I've seen it by now. It's in all the right places.
Whenever I interacted with
yeah.
Kaine, I was reminded about something from my past.
I forgot. We're back here again.
My mind has been confusing her with my sister this whole time.
Wait, isn't this different?
Here we go.
Is it different? Okay, I thought we started with Emil not be... I thought it was literally just you kill the shade. And that was it. But I guess not. You start with getting Kaine back. At least in this version of the story. Kaine's dreams, discrimination. The sound... Okay, this is different. The sound of rain filled the village. The steep cliffs that surrounded the area magnified sound, causing even the slightest drizzle to rattle like a thunderstorm. Thin wisps of smoke streamed from huts as the villagers huddled in their homes and waited out the rain. A single child, however, had braved the downpour and was now wandering slowly toward the wooden hawk-shaped weather vane at the center of town. Juan reached the vane, which had existed for as long as anyone could remember, and stared. The child's face was simultaneously delicate and fierce, like a teacup that had survived a shipwreck. Those traits combined with pale white skin to give the face an almost sexless quality. If the beak turns east, I go home. If it stays west, then I... Child blinked. Rain slowly dripped from the young one's short hair and began its long descent to the ground. Come on. Come on. Child felt a slight breeze and watched the vein slowly creak to life. In this way, for that moment, it finally settled with the beak pointing firmly toward the east. East? Really? The vein could move again, and a jagged rock came spinning and tumbling through the air, finally striking home against the child's head. For the blow dropped the child to the ground, and the hailstones began to fall all around. Oh no, they found me. Heartbreaking smile crept across the child's face as the stones continued their assault. With the rain, the sound of multiple footsteps grew louder before a voice rang out. Yoo-hoo, Kaine! Voice belonged to Dimo, worst of all the bullies in the area. As Kaine struggled to stand, a final stone came skidding through the mud and bounced against her foot. Blood oozed from a cut above her eye and blurred her vision. She could make out the ships of Dimo and his usual gang of idiots. The boy seemed taken aback for a moment by Kaine's seeming indifference to the blood dripping from her face, but quickly regained his bravado. What's up, freak? You like the rain? Like getting all wet? Or did you finally decide to run away from home? Though she knew it was futile, Kaine turned to leave. If she could get more than a few steps, the other children scrambled to surround her, cruelty burning in their eyes. Kaine knew those were not the only eyes on her. The tormented parents watched them from the safety of their homes. They were tuned to the sensation as one she had experienced many times before. Some villagers simply turned a blind eye to the action of their children, many encouraged it openly. Society ruled by superstition and fear, Kaine was something to be hated and if possible destroyed. I didn't say you could leave, freak. Dimo's words chewed at her like a worm through an apple. He can't hurt me, she lied to herself. Be strong, be brave. He can't hurt me, he can't hurt me, he can't hurt... Oh look, the little freak's gonna cry. What's wrong? You said that everyone hates you and wants you dead? And I prayed for the rain to flood down and carry her away from a world that seemed to have no place for her. What if there were gods? They chose to ignore her. As Dimo crept ever closer, the clouds began to thin and the rain slowed. Even the weather hates me. I'm useless, a failure. I wish Dimo's rock had taken my head off. Kaine couldn't meet Dimo's leering gaze. She lowered her eyes and stared at the muddy ground below. The bully moved forward until he was inches away. She could smell the scent of old meat on his breath. White grabbed Kaine's face with thick fingers and yanked it upwards. She tried to turn away, but he forced her gaze back and jammed his thumb against her eyelid to pry it open. You are a freak. No, I'm not. Did you just say no? Demo grinned evenly. You don't say no to me. No one says no to me. Not even taking his attention from Kaine, he called to his cohorts. Come on, guys. Let's give the freak what she deserves. When Demo finished, kicks and blows began to rain down upon Kaine. Demo paused, still grinning as Kaine curled into a ball, tried to make the pain stop. I don't get you, freak. What you acting like a girl for, huh? Everyone knows what you really are. That's right. Kaine ignored the question, choosing instead to stare at the weather vane. Continuing to point east as if supremely confident about the future it had chosen for her. Go home? Yeah, it's a funny joke for someone with dead parents and no home to go to. Freak, chanted the children. Freak, freak, freak. Kaine closed her eyes and listened to the rain, waiting for the pain to start again. As the clutching hands of the village children closed around her, she bent her mind to the sound of the rain, letting it become her world entire. The rain fell, but the pain never came. Only when the laughter of tormentors turned to terrified cries did she dare open a single blood-caked eye. I was shocked to see Demo sprawl on the ground, holding his head and screaming in pain. You could see blood welling from spaces between his fat, twisted fingers. Oh my god, he's crying. He's actually crying. Prior to their leader, the other children glanced back and forth between themselves as waiting for someone to step forward and take charge. When no savior emerged, they began an easy shuffle away from Kaine. The young girl was the least of the concerns. Instead, their attention was wrapped on the ancient woman standing a few feet away, grandmother. After struggling for breath for a moment, she finally spoke in a voice sick with rage. Hurts like a bitch, don't it? Now, I suggest you scatter before I throw another one. And if any of you little bastards ever touch my Kaine again, I'll do far worse than throw a rock, you can count on it. The woman crouched down and gently touched the hand Demo was using to cover the wound. Where he could think to protest, she ground her palm into the wound and twisted back and forth. Ow, he screamed, leaping to his feet. Stop it, what are you doing? Quit whining, ain't no one ever died from a scratch. You made the rock, you stupid bitch, a big one. That thing could have killed me. Should have killed you. The woman shrugged. This is the best cure for stupid. Yuno's face twisted with rage at her words, locking his eyes on Kaine, took a step backward and spat on the ground. Get out, leave this village, no one wants you here, either of you. And the old woman grabbed another stone, Demo and his companions turned tail and ran. As they fled, the woman grabbed her son and barked out a single laugh. Huh, look at that fat boy go. Guess he's healthy enough to run from a fight. The woman's smile faded as she turned her attention to Kaine. Kneeling down, she removed her shawl, placed it around the young girl's shoulders, then produced a cloth from the folds of her dress and began blotting at the blood on her forehead. Oh, Kaine, she said, why don't you fight back? You're stronger than that lot. Words of her grandmother stung Kaine and she turned away. Don't be nice to me, she said. I don't deserve it. Nothing matters anymore. Her tears, held in check for so long, finally began to fall on the muddy ground below. Everyone hates me. They think I cause bad things to happen. They think I'm a freak. I wish I was dead. As Kaine's tears turned to sobs, she felt her grandmother's hands on her shoulders. Despite her advanced age and diminutive size, she was a woman of surprising strength. Kaine found herself unable to turn away. Don't talk like that, Kaine. It's a river wide and deep that flows between the realms of this world and the next. It grants no mercy to any that attempt the crossing. You got a duty to fight until your last breath. Understand? The woman tightened her grip and tried to still the tremor in her voice. You know the pain of losing someone close to you, Kaine? You know because you survived it. As the words hit home, Kaine was struck by the force of her love for the old woman. As a young child, she didn't even know of her grandmother, but when her parents died, the woman quickly accepted her as her own. Grandma, as Kaine called her, was cunning, vulgar, and quick to violence. The first few years together had not been easy. With each year that passed, Kaine and her grandmother had grown closer. It was only now, sitting in the mud with tears and blood caked her face, that Kaine truly understood the depths of her affection. It was a woman who had seen hard times, who had seen death, who had fought through all these things and somehow emerged on the other side. If anyone could understand Kaine's pain and loneliness, it was her. Do I make you sick, Grandma? Of course not, don't be an ass. Kaine drew her grandmother's moth-eaten shawl around her body and shuddered. But my body, it's not normal. If I was normal, then Mom and Dad wouldn't... Hush, interrupted Grandma. Not hear another word of this nonsense. You're my granddaughter and I love you. If folks have a problem with that, they can just go to hell. That the old woman reached down and placed a wreath of dried flowers in Kaine's hair. Skill took to bend the flowers without breaking the seams or losing a single petal was remarkable. The beauty of it made Kaine want to cry all over again. Oh my gosh, these are lunar tears! Grandma, you made this for me? Lunar tears were legendary flowers, but most people could live their entire lives without ever seeing one. Yet your grandmother had somehow collected a dozen or more. He reached up and touched the wreath, as if she couldn't believe it was real. Where did you find these? Oh, you know, just stumbled on them one day while I was out doing shopping. The woman turned away as she was explaining, leading Kaine to suspect that the search had been much more difficult than she was letting on. pains she took to construct the ornament, let alone track down the flowers using construction, made Kane's heart hurt. She reached up and gently adjusted the wreath, admiring the way it felt between her fingers. Didn't quite turn out right, said her grandmother as she squinted at it. Little hands have trouble with delicate work, but sure looks good on a pretty girl like you. Kane blushed and turned away. You think I'm pretty? Of course you are. What a fool thing to say. Thank you, grandmother. Her grandmother smiled. We're gonna be fine, you and me, she said. As long as we got each other, we'll be just fine. Kane took her grandmother's hand in hers, and the two of them struggled to their feet. As we began the long walk home, Kane gripped the hand with all her might, as if trying to stop smoke from drifting away in the wind. The rain had stopped. Kane stood beneath the weather vane, watching it spin in lazy circles and only caring about the direction it faced when it stopped. I don't need to escape. I have a home now. Grandma loves me, and that's enough. It is us against the world. Kane let her gaze drift up past the vane into the cloudy sky. Faint hints of a rainbow were slowly fading. As she turned and headed home, the light scattered into a million particles and vanished, seemingly taken away on the breeze. Kane's dream, daily life. Oh, okay. It's just gonna keep on going. In the distance, Kane heard the steady sound of an axe striking wood. The noise had a purposeful quality to it, as if she was hearing a master woodsman go about his work. Whatever being produced, however, was as far from a work of art as could be, pieces of every shape and size being flung about a barren yard with wild abandon. Anyone trying to sack such wood would probably die of frustration before the job was through. Stupid piece of shit axe. Kane's grandmother flailed away with the axe, filling the air with both splinters of wood and words that would make the most hardened sailor blush. Grandma, called Kane. What? Yelled the old woman, taking her eyes off the wood for a moment. Oh, it's you, Kane? Don't get too close or I might take your goddamn foot off by mistake. With the axe down on a piece of wood, sending chips flying in every direction, one spun past Kane's close enough for her to hear the whistle before she decided to step back. Once she'd scuttled at a safe distance, she cupped her hands around her mouth and shouted, Grandma! Do you need any help? I can get you water or lunch or a new axe or something. I don't know. He's poised to strike another wobbly blow, paused in midair. The old woman considered her granddaughter's offer for a moment and smiled. Tell you what, since I'm doing such a piss poor job of chopping, why don't you come here and take over so I can get the water? Shades have been restless lately, and I don't want you to run into one of them bastards. Relinquishing the axe, her grandmother picked up a long pole with wooden buckets on either end. Gathering water was by far more difficult of the two jobs. Kane knew better than complain. His grandma's mind was set, there was no changing it. He did her best to help with the chores, but Grandma took every task that required travel to the village. Though she had a long list of plausible excuses, Kane knew the real reason. She didn't want her granddaughter to be taunted and harassed by the villagers. I'm actually kind of happy now that it ends up being that Emil ends up nuking the area. Once Kane moved in, Grandma decided to take up residence a good distance from the area. Out of sight, out of mind seemed the best policy when it came to the villagers and her granddaughter, and rare were the days where any but the two of them could be found on the rocky acre of land they called home. Kane enjoyed the solitude, but harbored a secret resentment that her grandmother was forced to spend her golden years in such a place. Watching her grandmother leave, Kane turned her attention to the task at hand. Never chopped wood before in her life, and soon discovered why the old woman hated the short. After swinging the axe produced only a tiny crack in the wood. When she managed to connect with a solid stroke, the tool embedded itself in the log and refused to budge. That's when you... So what you're supposed to do with that, then, is you pick it all up with the axe. Because I've chopped wood before, scouts. You pick up everything, and then you slam it all back down on your chopping block. And that should force it deeper in. Frustrated, Kane swung the axe around her head and threw it, logging all across the yard. Damn it. Ah, crap. Suddenly, instead the joy of her grandmother felt into good curse. Happy now, she picked up the axe, forced it from the wood, and resumed chopping. Natural skill with a blade, but the task was challenging, and blisters soon began to form on her small pink hands. This is tough. My logs are all weird sizes. Spinning on her palms and ignoring the pain, Kane redoubled her efforts. As she was developing rhythm, Grandma returned from the village. Down her buckets with a small sigh, she took one look at the logs, coughed out, wheezy laugh. Pretty clumsy girl, you better practice if you... Grandma suddenly collapsed to her knees, causing one of the buckets to wobble precariously. That's why Kane dropped the axe and ran to her grandmother's side. Grandma! The old woman shook her head and pointed a trembling finger at the bucket. Get the bucket, can't let it spill. Kane steadied the bucket with a foot as she knelt by her grandmother. A small bit of water slushed over the side, made a new home in the hem of her dress, but Kane didn't notice. Grandma, what's happening? Crazed with panic, she grabbed her black scrawl. Is that actually going to be important in this? Because it was like the catalyst for the first section, and then it just stopped being important. Of course, there are much more important things at hand to cover that up, but crazed with panic, she grabbed her grandmother by the shoulder and shook. The moment the woman lifted her arms and batted Kane away. Stop that! Just stop now, she cried, breathing heavily. It ain't like I'm dying, just tired from the trip is all. Kane desperately wanted to believe her, but one look at the old woman's shaking hands and worn face told her more than words ever could. Grandmother had lived a long, hard life, and it seemed the bill was coming due. The time when her grandmother watched over Kane was ending. Sooner than either of them had feared, the positions would be reversed. This morning, Kane came to the side of her grandmother's bed and took her wrinkled hand. Grandma, you're sick. You need medicine. I'm going to go to the village. She shook her head and tried to rise, but Kane gently pushed her down. It's all right, she said. I'll be fine. Grandmother fixed her with a gaze that could melt steel. But seemingly entertaining, she finally lowered her eyes and sighed. Well, I don't like it, goddammit. But I guess I should quit being so stubborn and let you grow up. Owen watched as Kane strapped on her boots and made her way down the road to the village. Hours later, as an unseen sun made its way across a dark and rainy sky, she was still watching. Kane moved at a brisk pace, checking her pockets every few minutes to make sure the money her grandmother gave her was still there. Noise caused her to spin on her heels, making sure she wasn't being stalked by a shade, or worse, Demo and his gang. But she encountered neither tormentors nor shades, and Kane finally found herself at the entrance of the village. All she could see glanced sideways at her, muttered to each other behind raised hands before slinking away into the shadows. Her heart racing, Kane took a series of rapid, shallow breaths and tried to calm herself. To prove myself, I have to help Grandma. I have to be strong. And those words to herself over and over as she slowly made her way. There I saw a rotund older woman who was angrily waving her arms in the air and telling anyone who was exactly what she thought of Kane's presence. Hey, lady, said Kane with a bravado she did not feel. Where's the apothecary? One's fine cheeks showed in bewildered anger. How dare this thing speak to me, they seemed to say. And I saw that her eyes held a different emotion, fear. Yeah, we're both scared, lady. Trust me on this one. Which way? Kane repeated, the woman pointing at a small building to her right for her hitching of her dress and stumbling off in the other direction. Cringe expecting a stone to come flying from the assembled crowd, but none came. Mine was filled with a strange sense of pride as she made her way to the apothecary. Emotion had little time to take roots, for as soon as she opened the door, there was a familiar customer at the counter. It was Demo. He'd clearly been sent here on some kind of family errand, because his gang of followers was nowhere to be found. Oh my go. He sputtered. I mean, what are you doing here, freak? The insult was delivered without force and Kane happily ignored it. Stretching on tiptoes to see over the counter, the shop gave her for the medication. Huh, barked Demo. Well, bitch, finally keel over? Go to hell, Demo. His eyes grew so wide that it seemed ready to fall out of his head. Before he could let fly come back, or worse, a punch, the apothecary told him to knock it off before he kicked him out of the store. Demo slunk out of the shop, cursing Kane under his breath. As he was gone, she allowed herself to breathe once more, taking a brief tour of the shop while the owner prepared her medication. Countless tiny bottles filled the cramped store, each with a label written in some indecipherable language. Ocean aromas sold her nose, creating a scent that was exotic, but not altogether unpleasant. Seeing such a variety of supplies gave Kane a sense of peace. Surely, in a world so vast, there would be a place that she could call home. For a while beyond the counter rested a portrait of a stunning young girl. She had once contained bright volume covers, but time had worked its magic, and they were beginning to fade. The beauty of the work, however, remained undiminished. You like that picture? He turned to find the apothecary with a small vial of medicine in his hands. His eyes were gentle but sad. He seemed to stare through her into nothing as he spoke. That's my daughter. I sketched it when she was just a little girl. She's been dead a long time ago now. He didn't know how to respond. She just stared at the portrait and tried to come up with the right words. Pictures are wonderful things, continued the shopkeeper. Let the ones closest to you live on forever. Shook his head slightly, then looked down Kane and smiled. In the medicine, he reached into a sizable green apron and produced a handful of old wax crayons. She had these, so no one left that I wished to draw. He took an instinctive step back, causing the shopkeeper's face to darken. Yes, I've heard the rumors about you. Small village and word travels quickly. Between you and me, I'm not sure which of them to believe, but I also don't think they matter much. I knew your grandmother, Callie, and I think the way she was driven out of this town is just deplorable. Grandma's name is Callie? That came suddenly. She was still mulling this new fact over in her mind as she reached out and gently took the grounds from the apothecary's hands. Grandmother is an old friend of mine, he said, as Kane scooted away yet again, and I owe her much. I went to wager that she would like it if you drew a picture of her, as I think she would like that very much. Kane were in a quiet agreement, but inside her heart was bursting. Before had a villager treated her with anything but complete contempt. Tiny, almost imperceptible step, but it was a step nonetheless. Then enough tiny steps she might one day discover the rest of the world. When I returned home, she found her grandmother asleep in her bed. Her feet were black and raw, even bleeding a bit in places, leading Connie to think that she'd been pacing around the room until exhaustion finally caught up with her. She placed the medication by her grandmother's pillow and turned to leave, but found the old woman's hand clasped around her arm. "Back already, are you?" asked her grandmother with a yawn. "Come here, let me have a look at you." Sat up and examined Connie from head to toe. Satisfied that nothing terrible had befallen her grandchild, she leaned back and allowed herself to relax. "Well, how was it? Did those bastards give you any trouble?" "It was kind of fun," said Connie with a small smile. "No, seriously, it was." "It was fun, was it?" asked her grandmother in a voice which implied she believed anything but. "Uh-huh, so anytime you need me to run an errand, just let me know." She spoke. Connie removed the crayons from her pocket. In a brief explanation of the source, she informed her grandmother she was going to sketch her a portrait. "Portrait of me? Ridiculous. No one wants to stare at a wicked, wrinkled old crone." "But Grandma, it'll make you live forever." "Horse manure," said her grandmother, throwing back the sheet from her bed. "Living forever would just piss me off. Put those crayons away and help with dinner." Connie would not relent. By the end, Grandma found herself leaning against the wall of their house as posing for a master artist. Connie took up the crayons and eyed her subject carefully. The grandmother was about to nod off. Connie finished the work. After staring at it for a bit, realized to release it from her grip and let it slowly drift to the floor. "It's terrible. It doesn't look like you at all." "Sorry, Grandma. I thought these crayons would, make drawing easy or something." Woman's narrowed at her granddaughter's disappointment. "Let me be the judge of that," she said, throwing the paint on her back and reaching for the paper. That could have been a person's face. It also could have been a boulder, a lump of clay, and an incredibly misshapen loaf of bread, all running in a chaotic array of colors. Woman stared at the picture for a long time, then slowly wheezed out a laugh. "Oh, Kaine," she said between laughters. "Truly are my blood. You're as clumsy as me, and I love it. But hush, I won't hear any more bull about how ugly you think it is. It came from the heart, and I'll treasure it always." True to her word, the old woman gave the picture a place of honor above the kitchen table. Days that followed, Kaine would often catch her staring at the portrait with a strange smile on her face, which she interpreted as silent, mocking laughter. "Uh-huh. Yeah, that's what it is." Later, Kaine could stand it no more and asked her grandmother to take the artwork down. "Hush," said the old woman. "Take this down when they roll me in the shroud." She pounded this for a bit, then turned to Kaine and dropped to one knee. "To me, girl, seeing this picture makes me happy in a way I've never felt before. It makes me want to go on so that someday you can feel the same happiness." It's a moment that burned itself in Kaine's memory, a perfect blend of pride and love and joy that came together to form a lifelong remembrance. She swore to never forget this moment, to never forget the old woman who had made her place in the world possible. Time moves on, people and memories come in and out of this life like ghosts passing through a hall. But this moment will be different, Kaine swore, because I will remember it forever. Forever. Kaine's dreams separation. Oh, that's not a good sign. No. Okay, that's going to be it for this episode, though. So, if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. And you know what's going to come next. I think we all do. See ya.